From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Coming up on AgDay.
Pork brains in milk. Look at milk gravy from American Linguist. Look at this.
Just in time for Halloween, we take you to the Disgusting Food Museum. Our AgDay Harvest Tour rolls into Ohio.
They're going as fast as they can at this point, but they just can't keep up with the high yields.
And what if talks don't go well next month with China? President Trump has a plan.
AgDay, brought to you by the Chevy Silverado, the most dependable, longest-lasting full-size pickups on the road.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. President Trump expecting a great deal to be made with China, but he warns tariffs will rise if not. According to Bloomberg, an announcement about those new tariffs could come in early December. The new list would apply to imports coming from China that aren't already covered by previous tariffs. Now, the two presidents are scheduled to meet on the side of the G20 summit in Buenos Aires in November.
It is difficult to see, what China would be willing to come back to the table on. And then I go back to, what is our success that we're wanting out of this deal? And at least for me as a common person, I think looking at this, it'd be helpful to know, okay, how are we going to define and judge success on the back end of this? So it's hard to say when a deal could get done.
A spokesman for China's Ministry of Foreign Affairs reiterating that China's call for the U.S. to take a serious attitude, saying it wants to hold talks on the basis of equality and good faith. Those tariffs also being felt by U.S. companies in southern China. Reuters reports says more than 70% of those firms are considering delaying further investment there and moving some or all of their manufacturing to other countries. But only 1% said they had any plans to establish in North America. Around 85% of U.S. companies said they have suffered from the combined tariffs. U.S. companies also reported facing increased competition from rivals in Vietnam, Germany, and Japan. And Canada appears willing to stall a potential trade deal with China. This according to CBC News. Canada's ambassador to China says a trade pact doesn't seem likely to be reached until China shows flexibility on controversial policies. Now, an ambassador says right now much of the work is focusing on bridging policy gaps on agricultural market access and political policies. Canada working to reach this agreement. That's despite provisions in the USMCA that seek to block trade pacts with China. Now, Canadian officials maintain that doesn't stop them from engaging with China, and the USMCA deal is not yet finalized. We're learning more about that second round of tariff aid payments that will be coming in December. We told you last week, Ag Secretary Sonny Perdue said there were no plans to extend trade aid to farmers next year, but we now know that the direct payment portion of the market facilitation program will be repeated in December. Now, here's a look at the amounts. They're multiplied by half the production on a farm for the payment. USDA is still taking into consideration pleas by some farm groups to increase the payment. The Wisconsin Department of Agriculture is confirming a case of bovine tuberculosis. It was found in a dairy herd in Dane County. That's in the south central part of the state. It was found during a routine slaughter inspection. Now the farm is now quarantined. Officials are assuring people pasteurized milk continues to be safe because the process eliminates the disease from milk. This is the first case in Wisconsin in nearly 50 years. Southern Illinois University is creating new programs for students who want to know more about marijuana. The school says it's creating programs at the Carbondale campus to study medical marijuana and industrial hemp. Officials hope the programs will give students and farmers a chance to earn a new certificate in the subject. They say the program in cannabis science will be a mixture of agriculture and plant biology with courses in subjects ranging from chemistry to business to engineering. School leaders say they hope to begin planting next spring on a 5-acre parcel of land.
The I-80 Harvest Tour is brought to you by the Enlist Weed Control System. More weed control, less drift and volatility, maximum yield potential.
By all accounts, the Buckeye State has been on pace to haul in records in 2018, and so far, so good. The latest progress update from USDA says 64% of Ohio corn has been harvested, well ahead of the 5-year average, and 3/4 of soybeans are out of the field, just behind the average pace. On this week's I-80 Harvest Tour, we meet 2 Ohio farmers rushing as fast as they can. The Harvest Show is spinning in Northwest Ohio.
It's just been quite a circus around here today, but that's what makes farming and life fun. We got to keep busy.
I had a few untimely breakdowns, but that goes with the territory.
Farmers Nate Like and Eric Klein say despite a drought scare earlier in the year, so far, yields are exceptional.
I would say most of our stuff was probably 20 to 30 to 40% better than we've ever had in the past.
Soybeans we ran from about mid-50s up to low 70s right in my area here, or that's what mine were. And corn I've run from 174 so far up to 220. So I'm real happy with the corn.
Great yields for a state USDA is expecting to set fresh records.
The prices are getting limited this year and are lower than they have been in the past, but our yields have been very, very exceptional this year. So like I mentioned before, it's kind of balancing itself out.
However, there are challenges this harvest season. Quality and field loss issues are a growing concern.
Yeah, we got one variety of corn's got ears laying on the ground. You'll see a few. Not real bad in here. We had other fields worse, but we're trying to get out before we get any more wind.
You could see up to 10 to 15 bushel loss just by ear drop in certain areas. Depends on how bad it is.
Yeah, you want it in the tank, you know. Once on the ground, it don't get in your pocket.
Getting it in the tank may be the biggest challenge of the year.
Doctor just come back and said the elevator's closing tonight, so early. So yeah, we're going to get in the same trouble all over. I think yields are pretty good all over.
Storage and room at the local elevator is already a problem.
They're going as fast as they can at this point, but they just can't keep up with the high yields that we're seeing out in the field with the corn at this moment.
While hauling and storage slows them down.
With weather the way it is and the stalks are pretty rotten and stuff, it's time to get it out.
Mother Nature is pushing farmers to get the crop out. As Harvest in Ohio rolls into one of its biggest bushel shows to ever tip the scales. Are you noticing more fall colors in your area? Meteorologist Cindy Clausen shows us a place where the color is just starting to show. It's this morning's crop comments.
Thanks, Clinton. Well, we're starting to see more signs of fall across the country, as in this picture shared to us by Julie on Twitter. She's in Central Texas. Now, you can see lots of color in the trees there behind the cows. The fall colors are patchy right now in that part of the country. They're not expected to peak there until the middle of next month. Let's take a look at the wind forecast as we head through the day today. We've got a frontal boundary that's draped all the way from New York down through Ohio and into parts of the southern plains. We'll see some windier conditions along that front. Also in parts of the southwest, we're going to see pockets of windier areas, especially as we get into the afternoon. Look at that in parts of northern Mexico and into the western parts of Texas and southeastern New Mexico. As we get into the overnight hours, it's still really along that front where we see the heaviest winds, and we'll see a low pressure developing in the Tennessee and Ohio valleys there. So we'll see the winds picking up as we head through the day there tomorrow and along the front. But we'll really start to see those winds also picking up in parts of the northern plains. I'll have your national forecast coming up, but first, here are some hometown temps.
Keeping track of the shifting market prices has never been so easy. Get the latest commodity prices sent directly to your cell phone with market updates. Just text Markets8 to 31313 to get started.
What could a big crop in Brazil mean for growers here at home? We get some analysis. That's coming up next. And later, we take you to the Disgusting Food Museum, which is really living up to its name. Planting is underway in Brazil and the crop is going in record time. Tyne Morgan joins us from the road in this morning's look at what a big year in Brazil means for markets here at home.
Here now with Pete Meyer. Pete, you know, when you look at Brazil and what a monster supplier it's becoming, Brazil is now the top ag import supplier to China. You know, they have become a reliable source for China. Do you think that changes? Will it take a while for the U.S. to overtake that?
I think what they're trying to do is, you know, you've had so large an increase in land, and everybody thinks of the Amazon or the rainforest being cut down, but that's not happening. It's happening in other places, happening in the Cerrado and some of those places where we've seen this unbelievable expansion of land. And besides that, the genetics are such and the planting is such that the Brazilian farmer can match the U.S. farmer in yield on beans. Can't match them in corn, not even close. But could easily match them in beans. So, you know, It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens now that this far right wing government is supposed to get in, and I know he's the president elect or supposed president is not a big fan of China. So we'll see.
How big of production can we see out of Brazil, do you think, this year when it comes to soybeans?
Oh, I think 125 is easily in the cards. 125 million metric tons.
How does that compare to last year?
Last year 119.
So just higher yield and more acres?
More acres for sure, and they've gotten off to a really good start. And I'll give you a little bit of an anecdotal story. So we're on crop tour, and I have a young man in the truck with me, and he farms on the edge of Paraguay and Brazil. And he says, I said, how you doing? He said, good. We start talking about the markets. He said, I sold two crops this year. I said, great, 19 and 20? He goes, no, 2 and 19. I said, what do you mean? He goes, when I'm done with crop tour, first week of September, which is past a little while ago, I put my first crop in. I'll harvest it in December, I'll put my second crop in. I had the same reaction you're having now. How do you
compete with that?
You can't. And how do you write off 125?
So it's no question of why they are becoming the lead supplier for China. I mean, they just have quite a bit of crop there to supply to China.
It's a quality issue as well, right? We saw that last year where the U.S. harvest in the southeast didn't quite have the protein or content that we thought, so it's quality as well. The quality of beans that are coming out of Brazil is much better. Now, as they widen expansion or wide acres, will that remain or stay the same? Who knows? That's the story we have to watch, but it's a quality issue at the moment as well. Never mind quantity.
All right, Pete, thank you so much. We appreciate it. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll have much more right here on Ag Day.
For more information on S&P Global Platts agricultural research and analysis, call 646-478-6465.
Welcome back to Ag Day. Here, meteorologist Cindy Clausen looking at the root zone moisture map. And Cindy, you can look at this map and see how much of the country really has gotten good rains over the last few months.
Absolutely. It seems like every week I'm seeing more and more blue on this map. But the couple areas that we've really seen the big difference are in the Pacific Northwest and in parts of the Northeast into the Mid-Atlantic states. Let's take a look at what things are doing for the rest of your forecast as we head through the day today. We have a cold front that's draped all the way from the eastern Great Lakes back down towards the southern plains and the Four Corners region. So that will be the focus of some showers and maybe even some rumbles of thunder on the northern side. Back west, where we're looking towards the Four Corners region, we've got some pretty heavy snow in parts of Colorado and into New Mexico as well, and even into parts of Texas and Oklahoma. Let's put this into motion, and you can see that front moving to the east, and we really start to pick up that Gulf moisture as we get into the afternoon and into this evening. High pressure starts to settle into the Four Corners region, and so we start to see some of that snow drying up. Another system enters the Pacific Northwest to look for some rain and higher elevation snow there. Heading into the overnight hours we go, and we see this low kind of picking up some strength on the southern side of that front. That's going to be bringing rain and some thunderstorms all the way from the central and western Gulf Coast states up into the eastern Great Lakes. Heading through your day on Thursday, everything just progresses to the east, so look for a rainy day for parts of the southeast, for a lot of the eastern Corn Belt as well. We'll see that system in the Pacific Northwest then starting to move into the northern plains. Now, as far as rainfall, this is the past 24 hours. You can see a lot of that right along that front, and of course, we've had the rain and snow in much of Colorado. Adding on the next 24 hours, you see how much moisture we pick up from the Gulf, with many areas 2-3+ inches of rain over a 2-day period. All right, let's take a look at the snowfall, and yeah, it's been heavy in parts of Colorado, New Mexico, so that definitely has been the snowiest part of the country all along in the Intermountain West. Temperature-wise, warm temperatures still remain right around the Gulf states. We're seeing some 50s, even some 60s, but 40s dipping back into parts of the Northwest. Overnight we go, and we'll see those temperatures in the 30s and 40s for a lot of the nation's midsection, 60s and 70s into the southeast. And then as we get into tomorrow, we see some of that cooler air behind that front, so 50s all the way down into parts of Texas. We have a trough that's moving through the nation's midsection. As we finish off the work week, we'll see yet another one on the back side of that as we get into the weekend, and watch what happens early next week as our model is showing a more of a cutoff low potential over the Great Lakes, something that we will definitely have to watch for next week. That's a look at your national forecast. Now let's check out the weather where you live. Spooky Meadow, California. Plenty of sunshine for you with a high of 49 degrees. Scary West Virginia, partly cloudy and warmer with a high of 77. And Pumpkin Center, North Carolina, sunny and warmer with a high of 74.
Florida citrus growers want some changes so they can meet demand. And later, what some are calling food that isn't for the faint of heart.
Plan for the unexpected with weather forecast updates. Local forecasts are delivered right to your cell phone each morning, making planning a little bit easier. Just text Weather 6 to 31313 to get started.
The number of H-2A temporary agricultural workers soared by more than 20% in the past year. The U.S. Department of Labor's Office of Foreign Labor Certification put the number at more than 242,000 positions. That's up 21% from last year. Experts say the growth in demand for these workers is happening all over the country. There's been talk for a while of reforming the H-2A rules to streamline and simplify the process. Officials say the Trump administration hopes to have any reforms in place by October of next year. Florida citrus growers asking for approval to lower size and grade standards. The industry dealing with low citrus production due to citrus greening disease and Hurricane Irma last year. Now, according to the Federal Register, citrus greening cut Florida orange production by more than 50% and tangerine production by 67%. That cut shipments of oranges by 54% and tangerines by 80%. And according to USDA, the proposed changes would, quote, allow growers and handlers to use more of the crop to meet market demand. This Halloween, don't forget your sheep's eyeball beverages or putrid herring. If that sounds disgusting, you may not want to visit this new food museum. We'll take a tour next.
AgDay, brought to you by Instinct and N-Serve nitrogen stabilizers. They don't just stabilize nitrogen, they maximize it, so crops deliver the max in return. Learn more at maxinmaxout.com. In the Country, brought to you by Kubota's M7060, built to get the job done. See KubotaUSA.com or your local Kubota dealer for more information.
Sheep eyeball juice, fermented shark, bull testicles, maggot-infested cheese, dozens of food like you see here, likely to provoke extreme disgust in many people, but considered palatable, even delicious in their home cultures. They are going on display at the soon-to-be-open Disgusting Food Museum in Sweden. Grab a vomit bag as a ticket and step inside the Disgusting Food Museum, where you can taste, smell.
It does smell god-awful. I will never get used to it. Gosh.
And sample a plethora of unpleasantries.
Disgust is one of the 6 fundamental human emotions, and the evolutionary function of disgust is to help us avoid foods that might be dangerous, that are contaminated, toxic, gone off.
Samuel West is the curator and chief disgustologist. He conceived this house of horror as an entertaining experience with a very serious message that what is considered delicious or disgusting is culturally learned.
I want people to come here and be fascinated by some disgusting foods from exotic cultures, but then also to see some familiar foods that they like, and then asking themselves the question, what is this doing in the Disgusting Food Museum?
Some of the 80 food items on display include frog smoothies from Peru, a Chinese wine made with baby mice, and an infamous Swedish putrid herring.
That's more like cat food.
We identify with, culturally, with what we eat. So it is sensitive. But I think by turning the lens on ourselves, on Swedish or American food culture, we're saying we treat everyone the same.
Also included are food items that many Western visitors might not consider disgusting at all. American foods on display include Jell-O salad.
I think it's usually a lot about texture.
And from the Corn Belt,
pork brains in milk, look here, with milk gravy from American Midwest. Look at this.
Keeping food fresh inside this museum of intestinal mayhem has been tough.
Real food in a museum setting can be a problem. you have to change things pretty regularly. You have to make sure it doesn't start to rot.
How does it taste?
Yeah, I think I'll just have the toast. Thanks. Ooh, gross. That's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in, and we hope you have a very happy and safe Halloween. From all of us here at AgDay, have a great one.